here, literally, we cut out the patterns, made the pieces, blah, 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 everything was sewed. And it has lots of little problems, but you know, it's my first try, so I like good enough.
I used to make all my clothes when I was in high school.
And it was
And if
worth
I had
it.
known that the bags were going to come down, I would have kept some. Those bell bottoms and those vests.
No, now see, I'm never gonna like bell bottoms. I don't care what the style says or what everyone else is doing. I'm never gonna get that whole thing. I'm sorry. Been there. But hey, if it's cool for you.
Not anymore, no. But it was funny. Those trends started coming back.
So the problem was they wouldn't fit me anymore. This is a lot of food.
I've always, when I hear people say, oh, I went to the thrift store and I bought this, and I said, yeah, because I can sew too, but I
I've
just
found a lot of clothes between a lot of stuff. Not very back in the day, what I was buying, back in the 80s and 90s, I found some amazing and I still do occasionally, but it's like the quality of clothing is not rich.
It's kind of designed to be disposable, right? You want you to buy new stuff every season.
morning. How nice to have a full house here. It is good to see you. What a good morning it is. Good morning and welcome to this worship service at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Tucson. If we haven't met, my name is Reverend Bethany Russell Lowe, and I have the great pleasure and honor of serving this congregation. Our community is striving to be as varied as those blooms of the Sonoran Desert which we await these weeks. Whoever you are, whoever you've been, and whoever you are in the path to becoming, I invite you to bring your whole self, all of that here and now. I extend a special welcome to any visitors this morning and invite you to fill out a guest information card. If you are joining us on YouTube, you can find that on our website under the newcomer section. And if you're here in person, head on over to the Welcome Center after worship. It's behind you and to your left. And there you will find clipboards and friendly faces to help you fill out that guest information card if you want to stay in touch with us. If you need to use the restroom at any point in our service, please take care of your own needs. Go out that door where Sam is standing there right now in front of you and to your left. Take another left, and there are 2 all-gender restrooms on your left. We will meet for social laughter right after the service right here in Goddard. There is always coffee, iced tea, lemonade, some snacks, and good company. And today, social hour food and refreshments are free for all, and donations are always appreciated to cover our kitchen ministry's costs. And today, there is a free sandwich and salad lunch, but supplies are limited. So if you're hungry, get there first. We had some events yesterday, and they had leftovers, as church events usually do. Our church auction, our biggest fundraiser of the year, is coming up in 2 Saturdays. No, it's just 1 Saturday. It is this coming Saturday. My notes are wrong. From 5 to 8 p.m. You can get tickets from Barb Rika today, I believe. And you can also, if you have last-minute stuff, she might still accept it. If you would like to volunteer, it takes a lot of people to run our auction. Go see Beth in the Welcome Center after worship. And newcomers, please join our congregation for a breakfast/orientation next Sunday, February 11th at 9 a.m. in Servetus, which is out the door and on the left in the courtyard. To RSVP, contact Mary Holly or Beth in the Welcome Center today for any newcomers, people who feel new or are new to our congregation. And I'd like to invite Wendy Gordon-Weeks up to the pulpit to give a short announcement from your board.
Hello. I'm Wendy Gordon-Weeks. I'm your board president. Thank you. And I wanted to make sure, if you hadn't seen the email this week, that you were not caught by surprise. We have entered into a process with Reverend Phil Zwirling, who served this congregation 30 years ago, left after misconduct, and in contacting ministers last year as part of our work, he wanted to work with us to try to repair relationship. So we have entered into a process with him, and if you are interested in knowing more about that process or have questions or concerns, we invite you to join us today to talk to us about it. We want to hear what you're thinking. So we'll be in Servetus, where Reverend Bethany just showed you, is out the hall down here and on the left. And I never remember the names of anything, but just follow the group. At 12:15. Thank you very much.
And I'll also offer as a friendly amendment for any follow-up to Wendy's announcement from the board that the topic of today's worship service was chosen well in advance of knowing that we were in a process with Reverend Phil and that the listening session would be today. And there's some relevance. If you hear some reflections or some wonderings that seem connected to the idea of entering into any process with a minister who was here 30 years ago and left after misconduct, it's not unintentional. So hear the relevance, and it is not the only purpose of today's service. There's a personal and a spiritual question in this service, too. Let us continue into worship together by turning to our neighbor, hopefully one you didn't have breakfast with or dinner with last night, and ask them to describe a time that someone offered you healing. Describe a time that someone offered you healing, physical, emotional, spiritual. Healing. If you are joining us online, I welcome you to put your answers in the chat now. Conversations. I welcome you to continue these lively conversations during social hour. But for the next 2 to 3 minutes, let's listen to our wonderful postlude. Danielle, take it away.
Isn't that lovely? Good morning. My name is Watercolor Golightly, and I will be your worship associate this morning. Our words for call to worship are from Reverend Elizabeth Mount, and they write, "From our very birth, we reach out. Co-regulation, not self-regulation, is our nature. We find our cues from the sun and the moon, from each parent and caregiver. We find our place in this great turning planet by turning to one another. Generation to generation, we awaken to the dawn and fall asleep at the evening's end. Our life's journey is part of something greater, something simple, something divine. A flame cannot be lit without a spark. A life cannot begin without air. And we cannot begin to find ourselves without love." May we reach out to one another. May we offer love and nurturing care. May we join together in celebration of the interdependence of our lives. In this spirit, let us worship together. Now I invite you to read the words of our chalice lighting with me today. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living tradition and to each other. And if you are joining us at home, we invite you to light your chalice there at home if you have one, as we light ours here in Goddard.
In a moment, I'll ask you to stand. We're about to sing a call and response song. Call and response is a back and forth kind of song. And I'm going to teach you the call now, and then I'm going to get the choir going on the call and response, and I'll just encourage you to jump in, either on the call that I'm about to teach you, on the response that you'll hear from the choir, or wherever you land in between. So before we stand, the song goes like this. The choir and I will sing it to you twice. Join in the second time if you want. I think the words are there, and it may have a G major. And it goes, just the melody that the call choir, and keep 2, 3, your eyes too wide open, 2, 3, though the waves gonna push you around, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2, and you gotta keep 3, your heart 2, 3, wide open, till your faith brings you back to solid ground, 2, 3, 4. Try that with us. Keep 2, 3, your heart 2, 3, wide open, 2, 3, till the waves gonna push 2, 3, you around, 4 and 1 and 2, and you gotta keep 3, your heart 2, 3, wide open, till your faith brings you back to solid ground. Good. Now, please, would you rise and sing either that or what you hear the choir singing in the response? It'll be back and forth. You'll be fine. Choir, are you ready? Let's start it. Here we go. 1, 2. 1, 2, ready, and keep. I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open. You around, though the waves wanna push me around. You gotta keep, I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open, wide open. Till your faith, till my faith brings you back, brings me back to solid ground. Till my faith brings me back to solid ground. You gotta keep, I'm gonna keep your heart. I'm gonna keep wide open.
So here's the question. What prevents us from keeping our hearts wide open? Everything. I hear fear. What else? Resentment, suffering, pain, anger. Say it again. Habit. Oh, I'm in the habit of it. Living. People. What I'm hearing, if I could summarize, war keeps us from keeping our hearts wide open. Airplanes flying over our building. Is there the fear of making mistakes? Has anyone here, by a show of hands, ever in their life made a mistake? What? Wait. All of us have made mistakes? When we make mistakes, there's at least two things that can happen. Yes, at least two. We can feel embarrassment. I did something wrong. I made a mistake. Or we feel shame. And that shame is not that I did something wrong, but that I am something wrong. And in part, that shame is the stuff that comes from our childhoods, from our early life, when we're told that part of who you are is not right, is not good, is not meant to be here. Right? So I want to read this piece from David White. It's unpublished yet, where he talks us about shame. He says, shame is nothing to be shameful about. Shame is the very physical, heart-rending, painful measure of the way we hide from life and from others because we do not feel ourselves equal to what we meet. In other words, all human beings experience it at every stage of their passage through life, most especially in moments where we need courage and presence, and most emphatically as we approach our last breath, facing at last what we feel we have never been equal to face. Shame calibrates all the ways, great and small, we don't measure up, and therefore shame secretly affects even the outwardly shameless and is the core human driver of all human maturation. Shame outlines exactly the ways we feel inadequate and unequal to life and exactly the nature and place of our hiding. Shame provides us generously and on a daily basis, maybe even hourly for some of us, the invitation to understand all the ways we do not wish or do not deserve to be seen, to be touched, to be invited to join the extraordinary dance of the world. Shame tells us instantly all the ways we desire to meet but dare not meet, all the ways we are desperate to play but do not play, all the ways we are desperate to sing, but do not sing. I know I feel shame when I show you a part of me that matters to me, an idea, an opinion, a personal taste, and that is vulnerability. Being open to showing those things to others is vulnerability. Now, my oldest is a teen now, and I've noticed that teens protect themselves when something gets too personal by saying, whatever. Right? And that's when I know it really does matter that he really does in fact care, because he's told me I don't care. So how do you protect yourself? By getting smaller, by having fewer opinions, by never making a mistake, or taking a risk so that others can see you? These are skills or adaptations we learned early in our lives, and yes, I say this as a skill. They have kept us alive for all of these many years. Some people do it by lying or bluffing or blaming others. I didn't do that horrible thing. Maybe you did that horrible thing. When we are in community, we have options about how we respond when people make mistakes because we will, they will. We can blame and shame, or we can offer understanding, which may be the opposite of shame. Thich Nhat Hanh writes, understanding someone's suffering is the best gift you can give another person. Understanding is love's other name. If you don't understand, you can't love. I had a friend years ago who was a first grade teacher, and her response when a child in her room would make a mistake, she would say, "We are human. We all make mistakes. We can also learn how to make it right." Right? Don't you wish you had that message when you were in first grade, when you were 5? No shame, no blame, and the opportunity to offer repair, to make it right. Vulnerability, showing up, offering opportunities to repair. These are what it takes for us to feel belonging in a place. Right? And you know who I'm going to quote next? Say it with me, Brene Brown. Right? Because she writes, we all want to belong. We all desire so much to belong. It is a primal human need, and it is wrapped up intimately with our dignity by being able to live authentically as our own selves and show up how we are is how we embrace our dignity and the dignity of those we're with. And it means also solving the inevitable challenges that come with being in community. So today, I side with Brene Brown, and probably every day, but today especially, I choose bravery over comfort, and I invite you into bravery over comfort. If you are brave with your life, that means you will fail. You will make mistakes. And this community, let us have the bravery and the courage to hold each other in that, in embarrassment and not shame. Because then we show up brave and vulnerable, and it is about showing up when you can't control the outcome. Thank you.
Each week when we gather, we bring those joys and sorrows, concerns, angers, all of the emotions of our lives to this space. And we have a ritual of inviting you up to offer a token of that joy and sorrow into our bowl. You can also, if you're joining us online, you're welcome to put your joys and sorrows into Menti, or if you're here in person. I'm going off script, you can tell, can't I? If you're here in person and you would like your joy or sorrow read out loud, Brian Moon can type that into Menti for you if you are unable to. We acknowledge each week that water is a life-saving and necessary resource in our lives, and especially here in our desert. And each week we pour water from a jug similar to those ones used by our ministry partners, No More Deaths, to remember those people who are walking through our desert right now without access to water. If you have a joy, sorrow, concern, anger, anything on your heart that you want held in the warm embrace in this community, I invite you in a moment to line up down the center aisle and one by one come put a stone in our bowl. And you can also put your joy and response into Menti. You will go to menti.com and put in the code 3708-6134 if you'd like your reflection shared out loud. read our mentee responses before offering some words of prayer, contemplation, and meditation. Can you scroll up, AV friends? Thank you. First one is the utter luck of being part of a community as an adult that is willing to do hard relational work. I wish I had learned these things as a child. Thank you for teaching me now. Thank you for teaching us, friend. Joy that someone close to me is doing better with her addictions. I mourn a future promised in youth, but have grown to see as an impossibility for myself and others. Oh, friends, we join you there. Feeling great love and appreciation for our leaders, Reverend Sam, Reverend Bethany, Pastor Jamili, and especially their courage, wisdom, and modeling as we move along our path to healing. It is good to be with you. Grateful for good friends, good conversations, and excellent snacks. Don't snacks make the world run? Says the mom of a toddler. Feeling deep gratitude for this community where I feel I belong and I don't have to try to fit in by changing myself. I'm old. No one told me. Friend, you're going to need to tell us more about that one next week. But I also know you are not alone. Feeling or concern that UUs are focusing too much on themselves and not enough on the outside world. Let's sit with that. Let's sit there. Teacher and conflict facilitator Prentice Hemphill wrote an essay called Letting Go of Innocence, which came across my web browser recently, and I'm excerpting it for our prayer today. These words might be a challenge for some to hear, but I invite you to, instead of wondering whether you disagree or agree or whether the words are right or wrong in your mind, I encourage you to take the journey that Prentice sets out for us, imagining a way of relating to each other beyond innocence and beyond guilt. In that spirit, please join me in a spirit of meditation, contemplation, prayer, whatever that looks like for your body. Whatever helps you, do whatever you do to help you center down and ground your body and mind as I read Prentice Hemphill's words. They write, "It's time to let go of our interpersonal obsession with innocence and guilt and see those concepts as what they are. Innocence offers safety, while guilt leaves you at risk for expulsion and isolation. Neither are fixed states, identity traits, but we treat them that way. And so many times, in supporting people to wade through hard feelings, hurt feelings, harm, so many of us want innocence separate from accountability. We want an independent party to deem us innocent so we don't have to look further, feel more, or understand ourselves. And on the so-called other side, we do everything we can to avoid guilt. We stretch truths, obscure intentions, omit information, build alliances to prevent ourselves from being seen as culpable. We have been trained this way by systems that penalize truth-telling, make high the stakes of vulnerability, and treat innocence as an all-encompassing home base, an unreflective space of safety. We'll do almost anything to get there because we've needed to. We harm each other for reasons that have nothing at all to do with each other. We destroy parts of each other on a memory we can't shake or a feeling we can't tolerate. It happens every day. And yet, innocence won't stop it and won't heal us, and neither will guilt. What changes us are the processes of making amends. incorporating another's reality into our own, of knowing ourselves, our motivations, of being in practices that interrupt our unconscious and violent flailing. What changes us is vulnerability, acknowledgement, and responsibility. What if we could see ourselves less as innocent, but as harmed and harming, more or less honest, more or less able to be conscious when triggered, more or less manipulative, more or less willing to take responsibility for our own change, more or less caught in patterns? Would we be better able to create and respect boundaries with each other? Would we be more likely to interrupt our own violence if we didn't insist on our innocence and the accompanying justifications for our actions? Could we let the word have meaning again? Can we wean ourselves off of the myth of purity, of innocence, embedded in our supremacist and exceptionalist structures? Can we tolerate knowing ourselves?
Let's sing in the spirit of prayer. You or someone near you needs to hear these words. We'll sing How Could Anyone, 1053 in the Teal Hymnal, twice through. Hold somebody, yourself or someone, in your mind's eye as you sing.
I was about 2 weeks postpartum. I was home. There are going to be tears this morning. 2 weeks postpartum, the memories, even without the hormones, come back. I was 2 weeks postpartum, and I was home alone with my infant for the first time. I had this great privilege of having family and my husband around for those first few weeks with Otis. And I realized just a few hours into that day that I had no idea how to get my baby to sleep. No idea. I can laugh now, but between my family members who had visited from far away and my husband who had taken a week of vacation to stay home with our new family, I had never put my baby to sleep by myself. For those first 2 weeks, if I couldn't do it, and sometimes when you just can't do it, there was always someone else to hand the baby to who could try, while I rested and healed from giving birth. What an utter blessing of 2 weeks. But this day, 2 weeks into being a new mom, when I couldn't put my baby to sleep, I totally spiraled. In the midst of postpartum hormonal changes and my sleep-deprived state, holding a totally inconsolable human in my arms, I was honestly thinking, what kind of mother am I? What kind of mother will I be? You can hear the spiral. If I can't even get my baby to sleep. And in this desperate state, sitting in a rocking chair with my baby, I started singing the song we just sang. I thought I was singing it to my kid to help him fall asleep. But you know that a few lines in, I realized I was singing to myself. How could anyone ever tell you? And once I connected and sunk into those lyrics, my spiraling stopped. My anxiety lowered, and I could actually connect with my kid. More grounded and more connected. I was in a place that I could actually put my kid to sleep, and I did. And I have since, right? And in that moment, I realized it's not about being good or bad, Mother. It's about remembering that you're beautiful, you're whole, your loving is a miracle, and we are connected soul to soul. So you're not surprised to hear I still sing this song every time I put my kid down. We sing it together these days. He knows every word. I sing it for him, to him, and I sing it for myself, too, for all those moments that day when I needed to remember that no matter how many mistakes I made that day in parenthood, in marriage, in my personal life, in ministry, no matter how many mistakes I made, I am still beautiful, whole, capable of loving and connected at the soul. Through this song, I was able to break out of that binary of good and bad. Prentice Hemphill offered us in our prayer words another binary we can, and they believe we must break out of. That is the binary of innocent and guilty, good and bad. This binary of innocence and guilt, some might attribute given to us by the Christian story of the Garden of Eden, tempts us into labels of right and wrong, innocence or guilty, good and bad. So if we are to, in their words, let go of our interpersonal obsession with innocence and guilt, I think we need a thing that will hold us, as that song held me, in our own moment of breaking out of the binary. Our congregation's work with Reverend Samantha last year was a small group of 16 of us, and another 25 of us are joining together this year. And this work together has helped me loosen my attachment to those labels of innocence and guilt. Sam has told me many times, us many times, we are all capable of harming and being harmed, healing and being healed. We are all capable. Can you feel how that might hold you when you are tempted to claim innocence and assign guilt? You are capable of harming and being harmed, healing and being healed. Can you feel how this might hold you if you are in a guilt spiral of your own making? You are capable of harming and being harmed, healing and being healed. Restorative justice practitioner Sonia Shah says that a fully integrated restorative framework would sound like being able to say, did you put your seatbelt on? With the same ease and normalcy as anything you need to take accountability for today? Right? Moving towards that framework, towards that ease of any question that says accountability will require us to let go of our attachment to that binary framework of guilty and innocent. And as we wade in these new waters of relationship, we will need a reminder. We are all capable of harming and being harmed, healing and being healed. I think these words can hold us, as that song held me, as we loosen our grip on binary frameworks of good and bad, innocence and guilty. Let these words then guide us into introspection and imagination of the people we could become if we accept that we are whole and holy, and also that we all have some work to do.
What will you bring with you today? Will it be the message, the music, the inspirational words? And will you, can you leave a symbolic part of yourself? An offering of the willing will be accepted with love and reverence. Now an offering will be collected to support the work of our congregation. If you are with us on live stream, hi. You can give online. You can send a check to the office or go to uuctucson.org/donate. And if you're here in person, the ushers will be coming around with an offering basket to collect your donations. We thank you. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun. Even when it's not shining. I believe in the sun. I believe in the sun. Even when it's not shining. I believe in love. I believe in love. Even when I don't feel I believe in love. I believe in love. Even when I don't
Once upon a time, there was a garden called Eden. And inside this garden lived a magical, powerful, badass woman named Eve. Now, Eve loved that garden. Eve knew the pathways that curved like a change in the sentence. She knew the best places to build up stone altars. And she walked past the lavender and lemon balm and crushed it in her fingertips for the smell of it. Now, she had a best friend in this garden. Who were they? Great question. Snake was one of her best friends in the garden. And Snake, you know, lives close to the ground. It's good to have a friend who keeps their body close to the ground. See, when you have a friend that keeps their body close to the ground, they see things that you don't. Like they see that these trees have no roots. Something's weird about this garden. Something's a little too perfect about this garden. And when they travel along the pathways to the gated fences, are they fortified? Electric fences with barbed wire at the top? Are they meant to keep Eve in and others out? And when Snake crawls up to the tops of trees, do they see that they are coerced into the inside? Who is protecting who? Now, Snake knew something was funky, and one day they were walking along the perimeter of this garden, and they came to the angels guarding the door. And they said to the angels, "What's on the other side?" The angels said, "Never you mind that. And don't you ask any questions here. We've given you everything. Don't worry." Now, obedience only lasts so long. And now Eve and Snake are curious. So one day they're walking their pathways to the two trees, these grandmother elders at the center of the garden. And one is the tree of life, and the other is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But this time they don't just walk on by. Eve asks Snake, "Do you think we really can't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil?" And Snake says, "I don't know." "Eve, do you think we can't eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil?" And Eve says, "I don't know. I don't know." You see, it doesn't take long to realize being a good girl is not a noble value. So there they go, beginning their questioning, and you can always trust a grandmother tree to do the right thing. The tree leaned in. Eve beckons Adam, "Comrade, will you eat with us?" First bite. Snake slurps pieces off of the ground. Now, what is it that happens when you know yourself to be good and evil? Freedom. Accountability is freedom. You know yourself wholly and whole. You are there, completely yourself, and find yourself still beloved on the earth. And you know what also happens? You see yourself more clearly, no longer fuzzy and perfect. Those trees actually like plastic left out in an Arizona sun. And the weather changed. Seasons in Eden for the first time ever, rewilding yourself as one capable of living and dying, harming and being harmed, healing and being healed. Now, God knew something was up. And God ran their way through the garden, chasing the two beloveds who had made it out like a jailbreak. Now, as they ran through the garden, passing through the gates, past the spaces they were told never to exit or never to enter, the edifice of perfection crumbling around them. God chased them out the way you feel when you tried so hard. You tried so hard to protect something. If only they had done it the way that you told them to, they would have been fine. But you know that feeling in your body, the betrayal, the embarrassment. God is standing there watching beloveds leave the creation of their making, and God says, well, screw them. They will be wounded. They will be pained. They will be separated from all life, and they will grow up as children believing it. How many of us did? And God stands there at the gate with the angels, and he grabs the sword, the flaming sword that stands at the gate, if you read your scripture as a child, and planted it at the tree of life, and sinks themselves at the foot of the tree. Now, thank God for tias and aunties and angels. Those aunties and angels are walking back to God, and just as God is looking out over the horizon, watching those beings, beloved, go far away, they notice the beings stop and turn and face back towards God. What should God do? Now the tias know what to do. They hand God a piece of fruit. You know what to do. And God takes a bite. And God goes with them, brave and uncomfortable, into the world. May it be so.
Sam and I have worked together a lot, and something I've learned is that Sam is the play and creativity, and I'm the spreadsheets person. And we work together so well. In a moment, I'm going to ask all of the people who have agreed to participate in this spring's resilience integration process with Reverend Samantha to stand up or to raise your hand as you are able. Early on in our planning for this work that this team is embarking on this year, Reverend Samantha offered a framework that has held our planning for these sessions. She says, we are charging this group with metabolizing our congregation's history and stories. This year, a group from within our ranks will metabolize our history and stories and patterns on behalf of this congregation, not so that they can have a to-do list or a committee at the end of it, but so that we can move forward together as more compassionate, more flexible, more prepared to address conflict in our present and our future. We had the goal of inviting 20 to 30 people into this process, People were invited by a member of the process holding team, which includes Reverend Samantha, myself, Pastor Jamili, Julie Olson, Frank Valdez, Beth Britton, Wendy Gordon Weeks, and E.J. Millstone. All the people were identified or identified themselves as people who we need in our circle to look back at our congregation's history, to trace patterns into the present, and to learn how we can heal from dysfunctional patterns that we are just stuck in still. Our hope, our big hope, is that after this spring, there will be a public thing that comes out of this group that we can all learn from. But before that thing can happen, this group needs to process more. Yesterday was the first of 3 all-day Saturday workshops, 6 hours, y'all. We met together 6 hours yesterday, and we have 2 more coming up in mid-April and late March, with small group meetings on Zoom in between. So this group is spending 25 to 30 hours together over the next few months, and we are asking them to do some really hard work. We are asking them to stretch and learn and grow and to metabolize our complicated 75-plus year history to understand how we can communicate what we learn to the wider congregation. This is hard work. Good work, but hard work. And so we'd like to invite the whole congregation today to offer a blessing to this group that is embarking together. This is a charge and also a we got you. So if you are involved in the resilience integration process this year, would you please either stand or raise your hand? You can look around, people. Maybe move your necks. No frozen chosen here. If you are next to someone who is standing or raising their hand, would you please place your hand on their shoulder? And I'm sensing that some table people, you're going to need to get up as you're willing and able and move towards the aisles or towards the choir. If you aren't standing quite near enough to someone else who's standing up, would you put a hand on someone in front of you's shoulder? Go towards somebody. Everybody should have a hand on a shoulder towards somebody. We're all connected hand to shoulder. Thank you. Thank you. And would you please direct your love and attention towards these beautiful beings as I read this blessing. As you embark on this resilience and integration process, may you feel the support, trust, and compassion of this community. May you participate fully and responsibly, taking accountability for that which you have done, and also considering and acknowledging when harm has been done to you. May you sustain your own spirit through this process and discern what sustainability for you and our community looks like, feels like long term. May you ask for what you need to create the safety you require, and may you ask for what you need to experience the dignity that is yours to hold. May you speak clearly and listen well so that your intentions can be clearly seen. May we be creative together and flexible with each other as we witness a congruence of truths combining to make one complex story. May you stretch your own self to encompass all of who you are. May you experience moments of peace and harmony, health, balance, and ease. And may you feel in these moments belonging and community in your heart, body, and mind. Amen. May we make it so, and blessed be.
Hold my
words of chalice distinguishing on my own. Our words of closing come from Reverend Julian Jamaica Soto from their book, Spilling the Light. They write, in this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like the North Star into the truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of the indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream. And by covenant and the movement forward of one right action in the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home.